The allure of a cozy cottage nestled in the foothills of the Sandia Mountains had drawn my wife, Lily, and me to Albuquerque for a much-needed vacation. The promise of tranquility, surrounded by towering pine trees, was an irresistible invitation to escape the hustle and bustle of our urban lives. Little did we know that our retreat into the solitude of nature would unravel into a nightmarish odyssey that defied explanation. We arrived at the cottage just as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows through the dense pine forest that enveloped the property. The cottage, a quaint structure of weathered wood, exuded a rustic charm that seemed straight out of a postcard. The air carried the crisp scent of pine, and the distant call of a lone owl added a touch of eerie serenity to the scene. As we entered the cottage, the creaking of the door echoed through the empty rooms. The interior was cozy, adorned with antique furnishings that hinted at the cottage's history. A large fireplace dominated the living room, promising warmth in the cool mountain nights. Excitement filled the air as we explored the nooks and crannies of our temporary abode. The bedroom, with its vintage four-poster bed, overlooked a panoramic view of the pine-covered hills. The kitchen, though quaint, held the promise of home-cooked meals amid the serenity of the wilderness. Night descended quickly, and the forest outside embraced the cottage in a blanket of shadows. Lily and I, tired from the journey, decided to call it a night. As we settled into bed, the rhythmic rustling of pine needles against the cottage windows played a lullaby, and the distant hooting of an owl became the chorus to our dreams. It was in the early hours of the morning that I was jolted awake by an inexplicable sense of unease. The room, bathed in the soft glow of the moon, appeared unchanged. However, an indescribable tension lingered in the air, as if the very essence of the cottage held its breath. I glanced at Lily, who still slept peacefully beside me, oblivious to the subtle shift in the atmosphere. As I strained my ears to discern the cause of my disquiet, I heard it, a faint whisper that seemed to emanate from within the cottage walls. "John." The voice, barely audible, called my name with a haunting familiarity that sent shivers down my spine. I dismissed it as a trick of my imagination, attributing the whisper to the creaks and groans of an old building settling in the night. In an attempt to dispel the eerie ambience, I rose from bed and wandered through the cottage. The floorboards creaked beneath my weight, and the shadows cast by the moonlight danced on the walls. The whispers persisted, weaving through the silence like a ghostly symphony. "John." The voice, now more distinct, seemed to follow me from room to room. I checked every corner, every nook, but the source of the whisper eluded me. The cottage, though charming in daylight, took on an otherworldly quality in the hushed hours of the night. As I returned to the bedroom, I noticed something peculiar. The windows and doors, which we had left slightly ajar to allow the mountain air to circulate, were now shut. A cold draft whispered through the room, carrying with it a sense of confinement that clashed with the openness of the pine-laden landscape outside. "John." The whisper, now a persistent murmur, seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. I turned to wake Lily, but her slumber remained undisturbed by the mysterious voice. Determined to unravel the source of the whispers, I ventured into the living room, where the fireplace cast long shadows on the floor. As I reached the fireplace, a peculiar sight greeted me. The flames danced with an ethereal grace, casting shadows that seemed to form into the shape of a figure. The whisper, now more than a voice, manifested as a spectral presence within the flickering glow. "John, you've come back." The words, laden with a weight of recognition, echoed through the room. I felt a chill run down my spine as the figure in the shadows took on a semblance of familiarity, a silhouette that stirred dormant memories within the recesses of my mind. Suddenly, the flames extinguished, plunging the room into darkness. Panic seized me as I fumbled for a flashlight, my heart pounding in the silence. The air seemed charged with an otherworldly energy, and the cottage walls closed in like a vice. As the beam of the flashlight cut through the darkness, I saw it, the figure, now standing at the threshold of the living room. It was a woman, her features obscured by the shadows, clad in a gown that seemed to ripple like the surface of a moonlit pond. The whispers, now audible without restraint, carried the weight of a tragic history. "John, it's me, Margaret." The name reverberated through the room, unlocking memories that I had long buried in the recesses of my mind. Margaret, a name entwined with a past that had slipped through the fingers of my consciousness. The cottage, now a stage for the reunion of the living and the spectral, bore witness to the unfolding revelation. Margaret, a ghost from the annals of my forgotten history, reached out with spectral fingers that left trails of moonlight in their wake. "You promised to come back, John." The whisper, a lament that echoed through the corridors of time, spoke of promises made in a lifetime that transcended the boundaries of the mortal realm. Margaret's eyes, though veiled by the shadows, held a pleading gaze that tugged at the strings of my own memories. The realization struck me like a bolt of lightning. I had lived another life, a life entwined with the mysterious whispers that haunted the cottage. Margaret, a love lost in the currents of time, sought solace in the echoes of a past that lingered within these walls. As I grappled with the surreal revelation, the cottage walls seemed to pulsate with an energy that bridged the gap between the living and the spectral. The door, which had been shut by unseen forces, creaked open with a reluctant sigh, and a gust of mountain air rushed through the room. The figure of Margaret, bathed in the moonlight that filtered through the open door, began to fade. The whispers, now a sorrowful melody, receded into the night, leaving behind the lingering essence of a love that had transcended the boundaries of mortality. I stood in the living room, the cottage walls no longer bound by the spectral presence. The moonlit landscape outside seemed to hold its breath, as if acknowledging the reunion of two souls separated by the veil of time. As dawn painted the sky with hues of pink and gold, I returned to the bedroom where Lily still slept, oblivious to the spectral encounter that had unfolded in the night. The memories of Margaret, though vivid in my mind, felt like fragments of a dream slipping away with the waking hours. Lily stirred awake, her eyes blinking in the soft morning light. I hesitated, torn between the weight of the spectral encounter and the desire to shield her from the inexplicable truth. As she looked into my eyes, a knowing gaze passed between us, an unspoken acknowledgement of the events that had transpired. The cottage, now bathed in the gentle glow of morning, stood as a witness to the mysteries that lurked within its walls. The memories of Margaret, though etched into the fabric of the cottage's history, remained a secret shared between the living and the spectral. As Lily and I prepared to leave the cottage, the air felt lighter, as if the echoes of the past had been lifted with the dawn. The whispers, now silent, became part of the chapter in our lives that defied explanation, a tale of love that surpassed the boundaries of time and the enigmatic connection between the living and the spectral. As we drove away from the foothills of the Sandia mountains, the cottage disappeared in the rearview mirror, blending into the tapestry of the pine-laden landscape. The memories of Margaret, though bittersweet, added a layer of complexity to our vacation, a journey that had begun as a retreat into nature but had unfolded into an encounter with the mysteries that linger within the shadows of the past. And so, as we left the cottage behind, I carried with me the whispers in the pines, the haunting echoes of a love that transcended the boundaries of mortality. The foothills of the Sandia Mountains, with their towering pine trees and rustic charm, held secrets that whispered through the corridors of time, a reminder that sometimes, in the quietude of nature, the echoes of the past come alive in ways that defy the rational confines of the present.